Wendy Forsythe, all of the senior leadership at EXP, along with some of the biggest alphas, betas, like some of the largest groups. And so we were just talking about the changes in the industry, like how EXP is pivoting and kind of what would help all of us as agents, because, there's groups like ours and stuff like that. And we represent some big populations. So what tools would make it easier, right? So there's a lot of tech rolling down the pipeline right now, just how the rollouts with like the EXP dashboards and stuff now has more data and information to where everything's going to be in one place, right? So we don't have to go to SkySlope, so we don't have to go to KV Core, so we don't have to go here, like, kind of like this oneness type thing. That was a big talk. We talked a lot about financials and, how we're able to pivot. This call here is going to be about the REO side of things, because a lot of us, we see some things looming with, consumer interest rates, the bond yield inverse, the unaffordability index with just houses and rentals and stuff like that. So at some point, something has to give. And this is where we want all of you guys to be positioned for that, so that you guys can pivot as fast as humanly possible and stuff there. So it was a lot of good stuff. And, we will come back and I will definitely kind of recap and break down a lot of the notes and stuff on a future call and stuff here. But guys, I'm going to get the call kicked off and passed off to Robert here before I have to walk through security, and then I'll sign back on once I get through. But as always, let's start with our 3 wins for the week. So who has the first win that they want to share for today?
I have a win.
Talk to me.
I completed the Bubba Mills REO certification yesterday.
Yeah.
Excited about that.
You should be. And like I said, right, like, the reason I advocated for most of you guys to take that course is because I know the relationships that Bubba Mills has, and I know the contracts that he already has. And if you want business from Rhythm and Guardian Asset Management, you will have to have that certification. So I think that is a great move, just kind of positioning for the future. So congratulations on that. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Angela, what do you got over there?
Well, I'm just feeding right into what you just said. You had me take that Bubba Mills certification course the beginning of the year. And this morning I was looking through Facebook, and there's Bubba asking for somebody who services an area of mine. So he's going to be giving me the assignment. So it works if you do people.
Get the hell out of here. Something that we said worked. Wow, that's so weird. That is wonderful. Congratulations on that, Angela. That's great. Beautiful. Who has our third win for the week, guys?
Hey, Larry, it's Joseph. Good morning.
Mr. Lima, what's up, man?
So on our Monday Mastermind for the last couple of weeks, we've been really getting after the nitty gritty of how we're going to make all of our changes to work with buyers moving forward. And we're getting some ridiculous movement as far as people being ready, prepared, and really clear how to navigate. Big shout out to Angela as well on that, because she's been so instrumental in driving that conversation. True of Lawrence King and a bunch of others as well. But man, we're getting to work on that Monday Mastermind. It's been a lot of fun.
Guys, that was another big thing that we talked about, is that EXP, like Leo particularly, basically picked a fight with the entire industry. But EXP is everywhere right now, leading the charge on this thing. And that wasn't a popular decision at first, but now that all of the changes are coming down, right? Like, it was a big risk, but the reward now, I mean, we have we do, like, Leo is talking with Zillow literally every single week. And Zillow had mentioned that 20% of the Zillow Flex accounts are within EXP. And so they trade contracts Zillow took a form of our buyer's representation, which is what will be signed by the Zillow Flex groups. And there will be a drop down if you're on Zillow to use the Zillow Flex account documents or the EXP documents. Huge, guys. And this is where other companies are literally taking our toolkits and stuff and using it. You know, we have our competitors that are using our forms and stuff like that, which is just like such a compliment at the end of the day of what we're doing to kind of lead that charge. But that is great, Joseph Limo. I absolutely love it, man. Beautiful. Anybody else have anything that they want to share? I saw some chats and stuff going on, and yes, James Brown, I think that you're right. I think it's around $600 for the Bubba Mills course. If you look on REO Alliance, there's a discount code for $100. I think it's REO, A as in Adam 100, and then that will give you $100 off there. All right,
Hi,
guys.
Larry.
Well,
I
hello.
have
Who is
something to
this?
share. LaTanya.
LaTanya, talk to me, girl. What's going on?
Hi, everybody. Okay, so a couple of wins. Yes, I took the Bubba Mills course in March, and listen, it's been awesome. I got a listing, actually a couple of listings in the past few weeks, but I put a listing on the market on Thursday, had a showing on Saturday, got an offer on Monday. So we are under contract, and I got another listing this week. So I am so excited, jacked out of my mind, excited.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah, I have a few on the market right now and about 4 or 5 to come, and I'm super excited. And let me tell you, coming to EXP was the best move of my career, and I've been in this business about 20 years. So I'm excited to be on this team.
Man, that is beautiful. People like Mark need to hear that. Ah, I'm just joking, Mark. Oh, guys, all right. No, it's all, I love Mark being here. He's a contributing member of society, and I just love the dude to death. He's a rock star for sure. But all right, guys, let's get things going here so I can get through security. I am so excited to have Robert Weichelt on. One, he is a member of our group and has been an early adopter, right? Like, he believed in the vision of what we were putting together, and he has leaned in full force. This man comes from history, like, is generational REO agent here, like, where his mother was one of the queens of REOs over in California that taught him the ropes. We're talking Fannie, we're talking Freddie accounts, we're talking like one of the largest accounts in Southern California that he got to learn from. And then he started bringing in that business and stuff his own. So through these years, I mean, man, now you can see he's a little bit older. There's probably thousands of REO transactions underneath his belt at this point in time. And so, one, he's doing a hell of a lot of business. You know, he also does a lot of traditional business on the, you know, using the bidding systems and stuff like that. Like, one of the best in the game there. This guy is just such a wealth of information, a leader in the industry. And now he is the head trainer for the REO department at EXP because they're leaning into him and stuff as well. So, guys, with my full pleasure, I want to introduce to you Robert Weichelt. My man, how are you doing this morning?
Oh my God, I'm gonna have to get somebody to make more room in my motorhome because my head's gonna swell, brother.
Man,
That was probably the most powerful introduction I've ever heard in my life. Thank you, sir. What's going on?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you being on and stuff here, man. I know that you have a presentation and stuff for these guys.
Yeah.
Based on your experience and stuff in the business, I'm going to get through security and I'll jump back on. But man, I'll pass it over to you and you can lead the way, man.
Thank you, brother. Hey, safe getting through that TSA, man. Have fun with that.
All right. Talk to you soon, guys.
Okay. Hey, guys, how you doing? A lot of you I know. I mean, I'm on this call, guys, every Friday. I don't miss this call. I don't miss Joseph's call. I don't miss this call. And there's certain things you just should not ever miss. Make this one of them. So Larry, thank you for having me on. It's interesting because every Friday I wake up and I get my coffee and I got my notepad and I take notes. I'm old school. I take notes. And so it's interesting. It's kind of cool that I'm on this side talking to you guys, because I have my own Zooms. I do Mondays, goals and actuals. Everybody loves accountability. It's great. It's called getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, tracking and measuring. I do those on Mondays, and we do a more listings type mastermind on Wednesdays. But these are the calls that we talk about a lot of distressed sellers out there. We've got a very robust organization when it comes to the distressed space. And what I want to do today is, first of all, congratulate Angela for taking those Zoom listings, huh? We talked about Zoom listings, and you've taken Zoom listings, and that is awesome. Joseph, the guy's on fire. Are you kidding me? His calls are so amazing. And I want to thank Jeff and Kelly for doing their morning huddles. It really is putting this whole commission conversation, this NER, this, that, and the other thing to kind of starting to make sense. So I applaud you for all plugging in. What I'm going to do, I am not here to replace Bubba Mills. First of all, the agents on this call that went through Bubba's class, kudos to you. You are the agents that get it. I'm not saying the ones that didn't attend his class don't, but let's be honest. That's the training. If you're going to go to any training, you're going to be offered so much stuff. Buy this, get this, be trained. Bubba Mills is the real deal. If you've not taken it, take it. It's the best in the business. And Angela just proved how powerful it can be. So I'm not here to replace that. What I want to do is show you how to position yourself into the REO space. Some of the things you need to be doing in today's market. Today's market is sprinkled with, sure, traditional real estate, for sale by owners, expireds, canceled, the lowest hanging fruit on the seller tree. But it's also, if you track and measure the defaults, the notice of default, the notice of trustee, you're going to see an uptick in those. Pay attention to them as it relates to your market. I don't necessarily follow too much what's going on in Ohio because I'm in San Diego. I'm interested in a national what's going on kind of thing, but I'm hypersensitive. I'm really focused in and locked in on the market that I specialize in for two reasons. One, I want to make sure I'm the best product for my sellers out there, but also I need to train myself and coach myself and help others because I want to be a resource for them in the corporate side of things. We've got now business, right? FSBO's expired, canceled, notice of default, pre-foreclosure. And then we have the future business, now business there, future business, post-foreclosure. Are you prepared and positioned? I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. Oh, the world's falling. No, no, no. I'm just saying pay attention to it. As the market starts to shift, you will be prepared and positioned. Many of you on this call are going to go, you know what? That guy's out of his mind. There's no way. We got too much equity. Cool. I always like to disclose before I'm going to share a presentation with you that I do for EXP Corporate. And I see a lot of faces on here that have been through that class. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but I definitely don't want anyone losing their home. I always make that disclosure because I do not want not one person to ever lose their home ever. I want to be a resource for them so they can avoid foreclosure as much as possible. And if all of those bullet points have been checked and there's no option, I want them to reach back out to me and be a resource for them in selling their home. That's what I do on the retail side. On the corporate side, I'm positioning myself to be a resource for my banks. I'm starting to get a lot of BPO work, starting to get a lot of questions on who do you know in this city? Who do you know in that city? That's all starting right now. As you can, like Angela mentioned, Bubba Mills, for example, popped out on the Facebook group. Hey, I'm looking for somebody here. And it only goes to people that have gone through the training because we don't want somebody, oh yeah, let me refer this agent, but I don't think they know anything about REO. Oh, it's not going to probably happen. But people that have been trained, vetted, and ready to go, that's who we want to work with. So what I'm going to do is share some of the things that we share at the EXP REO certification. I helped them write that and put that together. Kelvin and I did training the last 4 weeks. It's been fantastic. And I want to share a more detailed next level view for you, because on the EXP certification, and like many certifications, it doesn't tell you next steps. It doesn't tell you next steps, with the exception of maybe Bubba Mills, but most of the training out there doesn't tell you next steps. That's what I'm going to share with you today. Is that okay with you guys? I just need a real quick show of hands. Is that okay if we do that? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go through this real quick. Any questions whatsoever, put it in the chat box. We're going to bust this presentation out so I have a nice flow. It goes, and then put your questions in the chat box, and we'll bang out those questions then. Is that cool? Because a lot of times you'll go, oh, I have a question. And then the very next slide, I'll answer it. So instead of dropping the flow, let's go right through it, put the questions in the chat box, and let's rock and roll. You guys ready? Who's fired up on Friday morning? Who's fired up, ready to go? Okay, here we go. All right. And that's why I always make the disclosure. I don't want anyone losing their home. And I'm not celebrating people's distress. I'm celebrating agents' training and knowledge to identify and help that market. It's a difference. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got a little presentation I'm going to share with you. And I would love your feedback when we're done. And it's, you know, I take great pride in helping agents become REO superstars. And that's truly what I want to do. My message is about positioning. Sure, there's certifications, and I personally think EXP, and I'm a little biased, I think EXP certification, 4-part series, is awesome. It's great. Bubba Mills, of course, without a doubt. ResNet, good stuff. The folks at ResNet have amazing courses. And of course, NADP, and we'll share some of those links in here today. NADP is, in my opinion, the granddaddy of them all. They're the organization, and we're going to talk about some of that stuff right now. And you're going to hear acronyms just like we do in traditional real estate. NADP, what the heck does that mean? I'm going to walk you through all of it, okay? So are you positioned to become an REO superstar? That's the question. Who am I? Why am I even getting up here and talking to you? Because this isn't about me, but I want to let you know a little bit about where I come from. I started in the real estate industry in 1986, but like Larry said, I come from an REO family. My mother, the queen of REO, started in the early 80s, you know, with the whole, the David Dominelli and the whole different thing going on there. Fast forwarded to the 90s where I got into the REO space, and I call that the glue stick era. That's when we used to run down, take our photos, drive to the 1-hour photo, and then we'd wait there for our photos, go to the office, get our typewriter, type the BPO, glue stick the photos onto the BPO, and then haul ass to FedEx with BPOs like this thick, 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 sometimes. It was crazy. Obviously, fast forward, technology is introduced, and the last REO market was, you know, 05 is when you started, 04, 05 is when you really started. I'm starting to see some things, but you didn't see any REOs until about June of 06 on a very high level. That's when our office just, boom, I had like 40 assignments on my desk in like June of 06. It was crazy. My point is, you need to be approved with as many banks as possible. I was approved to 44 REO and BPO companies. I scored 1% with Freddie Mac, 10% you're fired, 1% the best. And the reason why I point that out is because it's going to tie into why some of the things you need to do to not only get into the REO space, but what's going to keep you in. And we're going to go into that. I coach, train, and mentor agents all over the country. I've closed 3,500 REOs, just myself and my team. The last distressed market, I'm a proud member of EXP, and I'll show them the REO certification trainer with Kelvin over there. So let me kind of go into the agenda today. REOs, are they still viable? How do you get positioned? What are you doing to get positioned into the business? What are the 6 steps to REO success? We'll go over that. And again, knowing if you are positioned, and we're going to show you how to position yourself, and we're going to give you steps that goes through that. Opportunities still exist. I talk to agents all the time, depending on the market. Real light in California. We've got REO assignments coming all over the country. I mean, Ariana White out down in Houston is getting bombarded. David Russell. There's so many agents that we talk to on a regular basis that are getting bombarded. So it's not in every single market yet, but the opportunity exists. I get calls all the time. I got a call the other day. Robert, who do you know in Dover, Delaware? I honestly don't know anyone in Dover, Delaware. So what I did, because that's the way I am, I ran a webinar in Dover, Delaware saying, how do you get positioned for REO? Found some REO agents, and now I'm a resource. It took a little bit of time, a little bit of extra effort, but that's what I'm doing. REO services are still recruiting agents. They're looking for agents. And it's not always going to be the agent that was there before, because this is a new era of real estate. So REO inventory is on its way, in my opinion, because I'm watching the notice of defaults. I'm watching the notice of trustee sales. I'm watching the distressed market as it relates to my particular market. So it's on its way, in my opinion. So I'm going to position. But the question is it a tsunami or a constant set of waves? I don't personally think it should be a tsunami anyway, because that'll cripple the market, and we don't want that anyway. I personally think the only way to get some of that pressure out is to drop them out in a consistent set of waves. But who do we know? Do we know if that's going to happen or not? Here's some of the things we talk about in terms of the 6 steps to REO success. You need an REO resume. And the reason why I say REO resume is because you need to have particular things that let the asset manager know. And when you're going to the portals and placing your profile on ResNet, Equator, and all of the others, Pyramid Platform, all of them, you need to present yourself. You need to fill out an agent profile. Make sure they have everything up to date, your E&O, your license, everything, your areas of service. Are your REO and BPO portals updated? First of all, are you on them? Because they're not going to come looking for you. Are you on the REO portals like Equator, ResNet, and the others? We're going to talk about completing a rock star BPO, a BPO that says, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. That's my market expert. Boom. That's how you get in and then stay in. I'm doing a lot of crazy stuff right now for some asset managers. I'm doing BPOs on vacant land. They thought it was a house. I went there and it's like, there's no house. Now I'm doing a BPO on a vacant land. Now I'm updating that BPO because now you can't get water to the lot. So it's almost like being landlocked. The dynamics are changing every day, but I'm doing that. That's not my area of expertise, but I want to be a resource. Right now is the time to be a resource, and your BPO is the best way to be noticed. We're going to walk through cradle to grave. Once you get the assignment, what happens next? There's a lot of things that happen to grow your business that we need to make sure we're talking about, but there's also a lot of moving parts in the REO space. We're going to go over what cash for keys is and the dynamics behind it. And of course, we're going to go over property preservation, because we are a property management company in terms of the things that we do. We're not taking leases and doing that thing, but we are doing a lot of the same tasks that of either a fix and flip or a property manager. Cool. I'm going to talk about accounting. I've seen it take down a number of agents, hit them pretty hard. If you don't pay attention to the accounting side of things, it could really upset your business. Offer desk. If you get 86 offers and the asset manager says, I'll submit all 86 offers, you need to have people that know how to do that stuff. You can't sit there and do that yourself. That's where your team is going to grow. And we're going to talk about that. And everybody knows about a transaction coordinator. If you don't have one, you are one. So get one. Okay. Agent challenges. Where are these sellers? How do we find them? And then once you do find them, what's the changing bank procedures? Fannie and Freddie, they change their procedures all the time. They're always updating. Oh, update to the contract, update to this. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. You just need to pay attention, because we don't want to assume, it's almost like a new relationship every time you get a listing. We're going to talk about getting the business. How do you get that, portion of things? Because you got to get the business. Financial resources. I'm not going to lie to you. You're going to need a little bit of money to have in a reserve account, some kind of, whether it be an equity line or whether it be some cash in the savings that's set aside for REO only. But you're going to be called upon to make some financial contributions with repayment, of course, but sometimes it takes time to get paid back. We're going to show you how to stand out to get noticed, to get listings. And of course, the big thing, you can get in, but are you staying in? And that's knowing what the banks score on and what is more important. What's the most important thing, and make sure that the timelines are so important. Okay. So here's one thing we like to say is early is late. So always do everything early. If the BPO is due in 24 hours, do it in 12. Do it early. So we'll walk into that too. Okay. So what skills? A lot of agents say, well, I've never done REO. That's okay. Let's talk about the skills that you need to be an REO asset to your asset managers and your banks and your hedge funds and those folks. You need to know how to evaluate a property. Evaluating a property is key. We do that every day. Vacating a property, working cash for keys, working with the eviction quarter, maybe not so much experience there, but at the end of the day, not that hard. Managing, a lot of moving parts in REO. There's more moving parts in the REO business than, for example, I had a listing for 2 years. It was occupied for 18 of those months. And we finally got them out. Then there's an eviction, then there's disputes, then there's cars left behind, then there's so much trash, it blows your mind. There's a lot of moving parts, even leading up to before you get the listing. But managing is a common sense thing. Of course, the listing properties, that's you. If you've listed properties, then you know how to do that. It's the buyer agent that I'm talking to right now. If you've not listed a property, you might want to start. Get understanding. It's a different dynamic listing properties versus, because there's some buyers agents only. There's a hybrid agent that does buyer and seller. And then you're going to find people like myself that I do not work with buyers. I will not. My team handles the buyers. I do not double in my listings, and I don't represent buyers ever. So I stay in my lane in terms of that. Marketing, you're going to need to know how to market the property just like you would a traditional listing, and of course selling. Now, here's some farming sites. You can either screenshot this or you could email me and I'll send you this exact presentation. You can have it. But foreclosure.com, wonderful resource. You must stay plugged in. You must pay attention to what's happening. They have graphs. They send you graphs every day of what's happening in the REO and default space. Go to Property Radar is one of the most robust sites you can go to. Property Radar, Sean O'Toole and his team, they used to be called Foreclosure Radar. We went up to Truckee and did all kinds of rebranding and made Property Radar what it is today. We did a bunch of training and coaching, and a whole group of us flew up there, and it was phenomenal. But so Property Radar, Realty Track, great resource. What's going on in the business? That's what you need to pay attention to. If nothing else, you're being a great resource for your traditional client. Know what's going on. Be up there on the deck and have a higher view and see what's going on and share it with your clients. In worst case, Lane Guide is a fantastic place. This is where escrow companies go to get payoffs for mortgages. Isn't that what a bank-owned property is a mortgage? There was a mortgage at one time that didn't get paid. So why not go right to the source? Like Lane Guide is a great place to get names and numbers and departments. I mean, everything you ever need to know on banks. MyPlus Leads. I use MyPlus Leads in my FSBO, expired, and my pre-foreclosure prospecting. The best tool on the planet. I can provide you a QR code. You can go right to it and get a discount, whatever it is. If you want, put it in the chat box. We'll talk about it. MyPlus Leads has been invaluable for me. But these are the farming sites if you want to get knowledge. Because I tell you what, the more you know about the REO space, or about the default space, the better off you'll be. You need to pay attention. I'm not saying spend all day paying attention to it, but plug into these. Here's some more resources. The REO and BPO platforms. These are the ones, the top 3 that I would recommend. You need to have a profile on ResNet. You need to have a profile on Equator. And what I mean by profile is everything about you. Answer all the questions, provide all the documentation, and there you go. And then it's like a hurry up and wait. Then you start getting your information out to the asset management companies that work with Equator. Then you start getting your information out to the asset managers who use ResNet. And of course, Pyramid Platform is fantastic. Another place you need to be, and I would recommend you sign up for the free profile first, get a profile, get used to what's going on, and then decide if you want to upgrade. That's what I would recommend. Don't just upgrade every time you log in. That's my personal opinion, because that can become expensive. Now, I don't know what your budget is, but I would recommend not doing it until you get a profile everywhere free and then upgrade as necessary. But if you don't go to REO Network, you're missing out big. It's free to join. You go in there and you put your information, and I know asset manager, this is where I go to find agents in certain areas. And if they're not in here, I'm really not going to go looking elsewhere for them. That's where I like to go when I need somebody from Dover, Delaware. I didn't have anybody there, so that's why I did the class. But REO Network is the fantastic place. If you're not on that website, get on it. Here's a couple of resources and associations. This is something that's important. dsnews.com. They're the 5-star conference. One of the most amazing conferences with other default professionals in the country. Go to dsnews.com and sign up for their daily dose. Super powerful. I get an email every single day. And if I'm not in the mood to know about the distressed property, I can delete it. But I get them every day. I look through those. What should I be paying attention to? Oh, if that's interesting. It's so interesting. I'm going to share that link. I'm going to share that story with my other REO family. Go there and get really, really plugged in. It's fantastic. Of course, Default Pro, that's REO Mac. REO Mac is the granddaddy of them all. They're now NADP, National Association of Default Professionals. So NADP has amazing certification courses, both residential and commercial. They are my go-to. I think that's the premier place to be. If you go nowhere, go to defaultpro.org and look at the events and their trainings and their certifications. Do yourself a favor. Of course, you know, Larry and his crew and all of us are part of the REO Alliance. I find that is a powerful place to be. I don't need to search too many different Facebook groups. REO Alliance is the go-to. For those of you that are with EXP, of course, you know about the REO Mastermind at EXP Workplace. You just go to EXP Workplace, search REO Mastermind, and you'll get all the latest and greatest on what's going on in the REO. And one thing I've noticed is EXP is taking a really big stance in the default space. I mean, among others, we've got so many different, you know, the relocation, REO, luxury, commercial, and there are many amazing opportunities. But they have a very, very robust background in the REO space, and they're taking a stance in the default market like no other company I've seen. I'm not promoting that. I'm just being honest what I'm seeing. I don't see many other companies going really bullish on at least educating our agents on the distressed market. So my hat's off to EXP and those folks. And I'm grateful that I get it to train with them. Let's talk about your resume. Your resume is your marketing tool. It's not like you're going to sit across the table and say, oh, here's my resume. And then you'll fold your hands and wait for them to respond. That's not what it is. The resume is where you mind dump everything that the asset management companies will be asking you on when you register for Equator or ResNet, or any platform is going to ask you a series of questions: name, rank, serial number, the whole thing, your DRE number, your real estate license number, do you have E&O, all the things they ask go on your resume so you can copy and paste and answer the portals. So, because if you don't have two screens or at least a split screen, do that. You can split your screen in half, have your portals on one side, your resume on the other, and you just copy, paste, and it's a system. Most companies they all ask about 80% of the same questions. There's a few questions that bigger relationships like Fannie Freddie, they're going to ask you more questions, and it's a more thorough process. Whereas maybe a small bank might just go, oh, your license, cool, let's do this. So you're going to run into all of it. But why should they give you the listings? Why would they send you a listing? You got to ask yourself, why would they send me a listing? Well, if you're on this call and you're probably plugged into Larry White, that's probably a really good reason, because we've got some of the greatest REO minds in our organization. So I applaud you for being on these calls. But how do I stand out from the rest? What am I doing? Am I getting education on the default space? Am I going to the city and the county and finding out how their new guidelines and new rules and regulations affect vacant and/or abandoned properties as it relates to foreclosure? Are you an expert? If a bank called you right now and said, can you get me information on this property right now? What would you do? Right? So we need to know, what are we going to do to be a resource? What am I doing to stand out from the others? Your resume is important. Gross sales volume for the very first transaction you've ever done in your history of your life, not just REO, any transaction, lease, buyer, seller, investor, doesn't matter. Put everything on your resume, because some of them ask you sales volume. How many days on market? What's your average? Track and measure your listings. If you don't have listings to track and measure, you don't know what your average days on market is. Do you have REO experience? Do you have training, certification? That's why the EXP REO certification is so important. That's why Bubba Mills, his class, I'm telling you what, I don't know a better class, but you need to take it. You need the experience, you need the training, you need the certification. But what you don't need need is everybody coming to you at all these different things. Oh, do this training, do this training, do that. You're going to be offered so much. Jump on this call, jump on that call. No, this is the call you need to be on because this is where all the information's plugged in at. Do you have an REO marketing plan? Do you know what the difference between an REO marketing plan and a regular marketing plan? Does it have things like 203K, understanding properties need help? There's different language that you need to use for an REO property that needs to be in your resume. REO services, this is super important. Do you have somebody that can rekey a property in a moment's notice? Do you have 3 locksmiths? Do you have 3 trash out and clean companies? Because we are called upon in many cases to be the resource because we're the boots on the ground. They're reusing us as a resource saying, hey, I have a new listing in San Diego. Here's the address. Go do an occupancy check. And then they're going to want me to set up a rekey, want me to set up a gardener, want me to set up utilities. I need to be a resource. I need to have these answers first, because if a bank calls you up and says, oh, hey, Robert, here's a new listing. Oh, okay. What do you want me to do next? No, you need to know what to do next. That means you got to go to the property. They're going to tell you exactly what you need, but there's going to be services that you're going to need to provide. We're not used to doing. We need to have a rekey guy or gal. We need to trash out and clean, initial yard. Usually are the same people. The trash, the clean, the yard, they do it all and they knock it out. Do you have a contractor that does handyman type repairs? Because it's very difficult to get your contractor who's building tract homes and doing great things to come over and do a board up on a home. Do you have a handyman or woman to come in and do repairs, a board up, fix a window, fix a leaky faucet? Do you have those folks? The eviction, we don't get so much involved in it, with the exception of providing the information of who's in the home. We need to communicate that with our eviction coordinator. So you don't need a lot of experience evicting people, but you will have some of that in your services that you'll be providing, because you want to let them know that you understand what it is they're going to need potentially. And you know that you're going to have to do this on a monthly update. You're going to update this, but some of them you need to update it on a weekly. So we're answering the questions that we know that we're going to ask. Are you willing to do these things? Yes, because I put it on my profile. So you're answering the question before it becomes a question. Are you following? Good. Oh, here's the biggest thing. Here's the biggest thing. Your zip codes. What zip codes do you specialize in? I would recommend against, like, so I'm in San Diego. Oh, I'm an expert in Los Angeles. No, I'm not. Unless you are, but don't. They are relying on you to know who, when that home sold and how many times and to who. We need to be market experts. So put your zip codes that you're market experts. A lot of banks are going to give you 5, 10, 15, 25-mile radius. Some depending on but the bigger companies are going to squeeze the area of expertise because they truly want you to be the market expert. So understand, put your most important zip codes first and then add the others. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Here's a resume. Sure. CRS, GRI, it's got all those alphabet soup stuff going on. It's got affiliations and recognitions, right? Okay, cool. Designations. But what do you think's wrong with this resume? Let me tell you. Has nothing about REO in it. It has nothing about the default space. This is an REO resume. This is how you need, and this is just a sample, but you need to have your name, your company, your sales volume. Not everybody asks what your sales volume is, but some do. Wouldn't it be great to have that so you don't have to go looking for it? Have it all on your resume. REO services and related experiences. 203K rehab. Most of the homes that we get, especially the HUD ones, are banged up and won't go traditional financing. So, and to get the new home buyer market, the FHA buyer, an FHA 203K loan is the way that first-time buyer is going to be able to afford that home, because they add the repairs to the mortgage and that increases the sales price. So my point is, but you need to know that. You can't just say, oh yeah, this place is banged up, it'll only go cash. You're limiting the buyer pool. You've got conventional rehab loans, you got FHA rehab, put it on your resume. So anyway, do you have inventory management? You know what that means? That says this guy understands volume. REO just doesn't go, oh, hey, here's an REO. Oh, you did a great job. Thanks for playing. No, here's how it works. Hey, Robert, here's an REO. Wow, you did a great BPO. You kicked ass on getting us our price. It was smooth transaction. You're getting more. And another, and another, and another. And they need to know that we have inventory management. We can handle volume. I was handling 384 listings active at one time. Woo! It can be done. You got a production line. You want these banks to know that we can handle it. But if you don't address it, they're not going to understand that you can handle volume, and maybe you can only handle one at a time. I want 15, 20 at a time. Again, I don't want people losing their home, like I said, but I want to help the corporate sellers in a very large capacity. Liability protection. Do you understand the city and county ordinances and municipal codes as it relates to the vacant and or abandoned property due to foreclosure? Do you understand how that works? Do you understand the city of Chula Vista? If you are in Chula Vista and you have a property in Chula Vista and the grass is getting like dying, they have an ordinance. They'll start fining the current owner, the bank, $1,000 per diem. Are you kidding me? Because the grass is dead? Green paint that grass right away. My point is, you understand how that works. Now, I was exaggerating probably on the per diem, but my point is, there are things that we need to know that we don't need to do and know in traditional real estate. Does that make sense? Okay. Your new REO identity. We're going to create a new REO identity. For example, American Realty could be American REO. We're letting the distressed market know that you know what you're talking about. You're specialized in this market. Maybe it's a separate email signature, right? Get a domain name. I have Robert at robertweichelt.com for my traditional real estate. San Diego REO for my default business. Okay. Email account. I like to keep them separate. It's a different conversation you're having with a corporate seller than you are a traditional seller. I like to separate them. I don't like to blend it. I even have two different phones, an REO phone and a traditional phone, because it's a different conversation. I need to answer my phone, period, when my asset managers call. But what I don't want to do is answer every single, oh, would you have your warranty updated kind of call? My phone blows up with the spam junk. It's a nightmare. So many times we're all kind of going, well, I'm just going to send it to voicemail. If you send it to voicemail as an asset manager, they're not calling you back. So have that situated. Anyway, who's the ideal REO agent? Now, there's agents on this call that have less than 5 years experience. I'm just telling you what most of them have set guidelines, and this is what they'll say. 5+ years in real estate, 3+ years in REO experience. And people are thinking, oh, I guess I'm just going to drop off this Zoom because I don't have 3 years of REO experience. You know what? There's not a lot of people that on this call, whether you've been in the REO business or not, that have the last 3 years of experience. My point is, you need to be plugged into this group, for example, blend and grow and tap into. Are you a trained and certified REO agent? I want to know you know what you're doing. I want to know you at least understand it's not called REO. It's called REO. Does that make sense? Those are little things that people don't understand. Financial resources. You don't have to be rich, but you do have to have a couple bucks set aside. Some accounts are going to want to have you foot the bill, whether it be a rekey, trash out, or clean a yard. So you're going to have some financial, opportunities to pay it. And then, well, here's what happens. Here's the big thing. What REO brokers don't tell you this. You're going to pay the expense. Let's say it's $100. And then by the time you get that $100 back, you've already done it again. So you have 200 out, but you got that 100 back, but you still have 100 out. Next thing you know, you have a certain amount of money that's just kind of sitting there. And it's like, it's never going to get off that wheel, because by the time you pay yourself back, you're sending that money out again. Does that make sense? So just be prepared. Not all of them are like that. Most of them have national relationships, and you just coordinate. So don't stress out on that. But here's the big deal. You need to have common sense, but you need to implement and follow the systems that they're providing. You need to read the assignment and make sure you understand it thoroughly, how the rekey works, how the cash for keys works, how the MLS and how it's going to go down with contracts, and what are you submitting? Are you submitting the top 5? Are you submitting all 86? They will explain through their assignment letter exactly what you need to do for that particular property. You need to follow those rules. It's very important. We're scored on that stuff, guys. Getting the business, mortgage lenders and servicers, credit unions. Now, credit unions have a less amount because they're scrutinized. Their guidelines are a little bit more stringent, so they have less, but there's still an opportunity to reach out to your local credit union and or national credit union. Government entities like HUD, VA, right? You got Fannie, Freddie. Fannie and Freddie are really, really a great resource. But most of the business comes from an asset management company where they'll disseminate the listings out and the tasks out to the agents, and they'll kind of play middleman. That's usually how it works best. It flows really nice that way. So I was approved with 44 different asset management companies. So you're going to find that most of your business comes from that. Hedge funds, really big right now. Reverse mortgage. Those are some great places to go. And your local bank. I mean, just walk into your local branch and ask them who handles the default, who's lost mint, really basically is what you want to ask. Who's your lost mint department? Great. Put them in contact. Can you refer me to them? Great. Okay. Well, who do I go to next? And find out who's in charge of sending the assets out to the local experts. They may need you. Be a resource for them. Let them know you exist. They're not going to come looking for you, like I mentioned. They're not going to be driving down the street and say, "Oh, that's a cool bus bench. Maybe I'll call him." It's not going to work. They go to their database of agents that have been fully vetted and proven ready to rock. Make sense? It starts with BPOs. I get this all the time. I get agents telling me all the time, "I don't want to do BPOs. I only want to get REOs." Well, I got news for you. In my opinion, good luck with that. But the BPO is your kind of your calling card. You do a great BPO for somebody, they're going, "Wait a second, Robert did a BPO for me. He was very thorough. He explained everything to the letter. He completed it on time. I can rely on that guy. I may get only $50. Sometimes I don't get paid at all. Guess what? I don't care. I know what banks are going to lead to REO assignments. I want to make sure I'm a resource for them. I'm going to do them on notice of defaults. There's a lot of that stuff's coming up right now. They're doing BPOs to find out what their value is in the event this person that just kind of gave us an indication that they might be heading in the wrong path. That's a notice of default now, and it can be corrected, but then it goes to a notice of trustee sale. Oops, get another BPO, maybe two, because they're staring down the barrel of a foreclosure. And we need to be a resource for those folks. They're doing it for short sales. I'm starting to see short sales. People have pulled out all their equity, and there's a little hiccup, and they're like upside down, and they're freaking out. You need to do them for PMI removal. A lot of people have, it's like 40% is all the balance of in most loans, of most transactions. People have like almost 60% equity. It's huge. It's crazy. At least I saw that the other day through DS News. I was looking at an article. REO assignments, of course, you're not going to get paid for those. That's okay. That's usually the listing. And you were going to do a second opinion. When a property gets listed by the bank, they do a second opinion with another company that they can rely on, another agent they rely on, another agent that they know, love, and trust are going to be the backup. And that's okay. I don't know if you follow football, but Drew Bledsoe went down and Tom Brady came in. Well, the rest is history. Be the backup. Be in position, because that first person can't do it all. You need to be there, ready to go. Here we do. Let's go. You need to be positioned to do that. So make your BPOs shine. Sure, you can make some money off doing them, but make them shine. Make them look good, because if they suck, they won't use you again. They won't use you again. It's not going to happen. But if you do a great BPO, they're going to be going, praise God. And what they're going to do is they're going to share you with all the other asset managers. If you do a good job for somebody, they're going to share it. If you do a terrible job, they're going to share it even quicker. So remember that. Now, you got the assignment. Congratulations. What are some of the things you need to do? Obviously, you need to do a site inspection. You need to determine occupancy status. Is it vacant? Is it occupied? What's going on? You need to report back to the bank in 24 hours. So when do you report back? In 12. Do it sooner than when they're asking for it. Don't just go, well, they asked for 24 hours. I'm going to take the whole 24 hours. No. Go do it right now and say, okay, I just went out there. Here's what's going on. It's occupied. I talked to this. There's the number. Here's all their information. Great. Get it to the eviction coordinator. And you do it right away. Don't wait, because if you wait till the end, then something always comes up. Right? Right, honey? Okay. My wife just walked up. Report back in 24 hours. If it's occupied, you need to report back to your asset manager or eviction coordinator right away. You start negotiating cash for keys, but here's the word of caution. Don't just walk out there and start talking cash for keys with these occupants unless you've been given specific orders to do so. Oh yeah, we'll give you cash for keys, no problem. And some people say, oh yeah, maybe we get to 3, 4, 5 grand. Let me see what I can do. Be careful with that, because unless you've been specifically told what the solutions are, whether it be cash for keys, or if you don't get out in 30 days, we're just going to file, get a sheriff to remove you, a martial lockout, a sheriff's lockout. You need to know what the cash for keys, you need to understand how that works. They'll tell you that. And then you start your exterior BPO. If it's occupied, you'll do your interior full BPO if it's vacant. Make sense? So I just want to make sure you understand the process of the assignment, because there's a lot of newer agents on the call, and the experienced agents, please, I would love to hear it in the chat. If there's anything I left out or that was incorrect, I would love to hear it, because I'm just sharing what I know. And I've been wrong before. I want to make sure that, you know, I'm doing it right too. And that's why I love doing these. But here's my definition of an untrained REO agent. Now, I use this graphic for a particular reason, and I'll share that with you in a second. You get to the new listing, that's your first one, you've never done one. You've never done an REO in your life. You have, oh man, here we go, here we go, here we go. And you get to that and go, I have to evict who? They put cement in the toilet. I've seen people pull their plumbing out of the walls, baseboards. I've seen them strip homes like I've never seen. And they put, literally, genuinely, people that are pissed put cement in the toilet. And that's a horrible thing. The utility bills, I had to put them in my name. What do you mean? Do I get paid back? There's a lot of questions you're going to have. And if a lot of times you're going to end up looking like this. And the reason why I bring this up, and hear me out, let me walk you through this. My son, when he was about 5, he wanted a motorcycle. Him and his little buddy Dallas, and they wanted these little 50s motorcycles, right? So we went down to Motor World. We looked at motorcycles, and the kids are all excited. They got their motorcycles. And I'm thinking, well, wait a second. I can't let him ride alone. So I went out and bought a big old motorcycle. Real quick disclosure, I've never ridden a motorcycle my entire life. But it was important to me because I wanted to be a part of my son's life. I wanted to be a part of that. And I knew that if I didn't get somebody to show me how to do this, I was certainly going to die, because it is a very powerful machine. And if you do it wrong, you will, they call it in the motorcycle game, wad it up. And so I went out and I talked to a buddy of mine who used to race Supercross, professional rider. I spent 6 months with him. He showed me exactly how to ride it. And the reason why I bring that up, REO is no different. It's a great opportunity to help the corporate seller. And that's what I look at, is they deserve representation too, but they deserve the best. And they require mandatory that they're the best agents available and know their market. And the reason why I show you this, because I went from this to this in 6 months, because I was committed to the why. If you want to get into the REO space, you want to know how to do it, get plugged in, find out what's going on in this business. That's me racing at Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. It was quite a thrill, and I raced at Anaheim Stadium too before I hung it up, but that was a good time. That was really good. Anyway, you need to be proactive. When you come up to a property, you're going to see interesting things. You're going to see a lot of things that you're not used to in a traditional sense. Trust me, you're going to see some things you've never seen before. Well, this is a Freddie Mac listing. I walk up to the top of this property. I mean, it was too steep for me to even drive my car, but I didn't feel comfortable. So I parked down below and then walked up, and I got to the top of this property, and up on the hill of this property was a bus. Now, I don't know how many people have had a bus on their property, but I knew because the previous owner had vacated the property literally right before the marshal got there to lock him out. You could see his taillights driving down the street. So the property was clearly left vacant, except for the things that they didn't want to be responsible for, which included this bus. And the reason why I tell you this story is you need to be a resource, a problem solver. For example, hi, asset manager, Robert here. I'm at 123 Main Street here in Eucalyptus Hills, Spring Valley, and there's a bus on the property. do you have anything in your files that shows that this bus is going to be here? And what would you like me to do with it? But before I did that, I reached out to my contractor, the guy standing there with his hands in his pocket. That's what the contractors do anyway. And his guys are cutting up this bus with a sawzall because we couldn't find a tow company. I certainly couldn't drive it down. It was dilapidated. It wasn't running. So I was thinking, wait a second, wait, airlift it out of here? How did they get it up to that steep hill? But that was neither here nor there. It needed to be removed. So I got with my contractor. I said, what do you think? He goes, you know what? I think it's time we think outside the bus. And we cut that thing up in bite-sized pieces, got it approved first with the asset manager. They cut it up in pieces and they hauled it off on a flatbed trailer. That's how you think outside the bus. But what I didn't do is call my asset manager and say, hey, I've got a problem with 123 Main Street. What do you want me to do? No, what I did is I said, we have a problem with 123 Main Street. We have a bus on the property. Here are the solutions that I've come up with. Which one works best for you? I'll take what's behind door number one. Boom, got it done, got it approved, got it done, and I got it on film. Does that make sense? Be a proactive resource for your banks, for your asset managers. There's lots of income opportunities. Not what this call is not about, but I think at the end of the day, we all wake up because this is an income producing business that we're in. So BPOs, you can make money on BPOs. You get paid. Here's the way I look at it. You get paid to learn and to be a resource for the bank. I think that's a good deal. I would do it for free for the right banks. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I don't mind covering my expenses while I'm doing it. REO listings, of course, when you get the REO listing, you get the commission. You get the average 30-day commission. What I like about REO, they don't go, well, you know what, Robert, the market's kind of changing a little bit. I think we're going to wait until after summer. No, they need it sold and they need it sold now. They're going to price it right and they're going to get it done in usually 30 days. Double-ended closings. I don't personally represent buyers. I will not represent buyers. Haven't represented buyers in many, many, many years. I just don't. I'm a listing agent. I represent the seller. But you can double in those closings within your team because you're getting a whole bunch of people calling, hey, tell us about 123 Main Street. Sorry, we don't have a price yet. It's a property. We just received the asset. We're in charge of the marketing of this property. We'll let you know when it's available. So you're getting this huge database of people calling you. You got this huge opportunity to build buyers. Only one person gets that home. Build your buyer database because you've got about an average of about 21 days. That's what I was averaging from the time I got the assignment and ready to market it until we got our price, went to our improvements, our BPO, and then bam, here's the price. So it's about 21 days. That's an awesome time to have a for sale sign. In case of emergency, contact Robert Weichelt or a QR code. And I used to put my agents, and I still do this, my agent's name writer on particular properties, and they were in charge of all the buyers of that property. And that's what we're doing again. But more importantly, is you become the market expert. You have REO properties, you're going to definitely get short sale opportunities. People are going to see that you're in that space. But you're also going to start being a resource for your asset manager, and they start going, hey, wait, Mark did a good job for you. Can you refer him to me too? Can I work with, I'd like his information. Oh, absolutely. They're not going to keep you a secret if you do a good job for these banks. When Larry and all the other folks at ADR and all the relationships that we have just in this group, you do a good job for them, your business will take off like a rocket. But I assure you, if you do a terrible job, your business will end in terms of that resource. Do a good job and they'll share you. People love to share. Oh, let me give you my guy, right? Do a good job. Now, here's the target. Here's the thing that we need to understand. The REO flood is not here. The tsunami or that constant set is not here. What are you doing right now to grow your business? Are you working with the FSBO? Are you working with the expired? How about your database? You don't contact them, somebody else will. Are you staying sticky? And it's not always, hey, you want to buy, sell, or invest? No, it's every single month there's a holiday. What we do is my wife puts together these little marketing pieces. Like she just did one for 4th of July, and she'll do one for Father's Day, and she'll do one for Labor Day and Memorial Day. And you get my point. But it's got my face, happy this holiday, Robert Weichelt, my contact info, super subtle, staying sticky. But are you working with your personal database? Are you working likely to moves? Get with your title company. Are you working investors or builders? While you're building your REO asset management company, are you working with folks in default, notice of default, notice of trustee? Are you working that market? If you're not, you're missing out. You need to be a resource for the default market. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. My name's Robert Weichelt. I specialize in the real estate market in your market. Is there anything I can help you with? I don't typically come in hot. Hey, I see that you've got a filing on your house. People don't want to hear that. I want to let them know I'm a resource. Should they have any questions about righting the ship, they're going through distress, it's my job to reach out to them. If I can help save their home, awesome. A very high percentage of people say, Robert, I want to save my home, but I don't know what to do. Once you don't have a commission conversation with people, it's amazing how they'll open up with you. I just want to help you. This is not a commission conversation. This is you've got a situation. I'm an expert in that space. Let's get this done. If it's doable, we're going to try to achieve your goals. If it's not, I'm a resource for you in the sale of your home. That's what I do for a living. But you got to educate and be a resource and take pride in your market. Reach out to those folks. They're stressed out of their mind. They don't know what to do. And of course, your attorneys. If you're not working with attorneys, they're the best. They're great corporate seller, just like an asset manager, like a corporate seller there. Attorneys are just like working with an REO asset management company. Death happens every day. Foreclosures, bankruptcies, there's a lot of stuff going on. They're going to affect the probate and divorce stuff going on. I mean, people are dying every day. That's just the way that works. Let's get over that. But divorce happens all the time. Are you a resource? Are you somebody that I could count on saying, hey, I've got an attorney that wants to find a good agent in this area? And the attorneys don't just say, hey, here's one transaction, have a nice day. They do this all the time. And if you're their resource, you're going to get continual business. But you got to ask yourself, what are you doing for now business while you're positioning yourself for the future business? It's all tied together. Notice of default, notice of trustee, pre. Once it goes back to the bank and foreclosed, post. Pre and post foreclosure. Are you working that market? In my opinion, that's the lowest hanging fruit on the seller tree. And the last thing I have for you here, and I've gone over and I apologize. Are you ready to seize do you recognize the opportunity? Are you ready to seize it? Do you see an opportunity? If so, get plugged in. Go to the REO Alliance, go to REO Mastermind, get plugged in, go to 5-Star, go to DS News and get their daily dose. Get plugged in. You don't have to stay on the screen every day, all day, but get knowledge of that market. Become a resource. But how do you bridge the gap? Bubba Mills, great training. You need to take it if you have not. That's the most highly recommended class that I would recommend, but that's just me, because that's the kind of results that I think you should have. I think the EXP certification, guilty as charged, I'm a little biased, but I think it's great training. Kelvin does an amazing job if you're with EXP. Get to that certification, get understanding, but it's education and resources. You need to share your expertise with the corporate seller that has no idea who you are. They need the market expert, and you're that person. I don't care if you've been in the business 3 years or 300 years. They need educated resources. They need to know that you're certified. They need to know that you pay attention to this space, because there's a lot of moving parts. If you want, I could be more than happy to invite you to one of my calls. We do training calls all the time about the REO space, deep dive. If you want to, doesn't cost anyone anything, doesn't cost anything. I help agents tackle the FSBO, expired, canceled market. That's what this is. If you want more listings, reach out to me. I absolutely want to help you. But at the end of the day, that's what I wanted to bring to this call. I apologize for going over, looks like I went over 6 minutes. I would love to open it for questions. If you want to stick around, I could answer any questions that we have. So with that said, Larry, I don't know if you're still on the call, but this has been an absolute pleasure for me to be here today. And I hope that I added just a little value.
Man, you absolutely crushed it over there, Robert. I appreciate you hosting the call and stuff this morning. And yeah, anybody have questions, comments? I think Carrie
Awesome
Thompson, I'm not
job.
sure.
Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. This is Carrie Thompson. Nice to meet you. You did a spectacular job. I've actually been in REOs back in 2008. I had 25 accounts. A lot of what you mentioned, I definitely have been experienced in, but things are always changing and we're always getting better to get bigger. One of the things that I was one of my challenges that I had when I was in the REO market was I had a $20,000 fine that was accrued, and it was because one of the asset managers did not return my calls. I kept trying, emailing. Anyways, it just got ignored. It then went to the city. The city then went to take it to an attorney. Finally, when it got to the asset manager, when it was very serious, the asset manager said, "We're both on the hook here. If you don't get that $20,000 fine off of this property, we're both going to lose our job." Thankfully, I had all of my notes. I had everything available. I met the city council down at the property. I had everything. And guess what? He signed off on that $20,000 fine. Do you understand that that never happens? And so if you are plugged in, doing all the things you're doing, taking all the notes, having a CRM, making sure that all your phone calls, everything that you're doing, then you become a resource for them. And after that, I was given more assignments, and I just kept getting more and more, and I was getting passed on because I was somebody that they trusted. And there are more stories to go along with that. But that's just one I really wanted to share with you, that it does happen.
And that is a perfect example of kicking ass and taking names for your asset manager. And now Carrie is a resource for not only that asset manager, she is certainly not, that asset manager is not keeping Carrie a secret no more. She's going to share, "Oh, you should try my agent. You should try my agent." People like taking credit. Give them the opportunity to promote you because you kick ass. Carrie, that was awesome.
Thank you for
Very
letting
awesome.
me share that. It was really important. Also, having the financial funds to be able, I couldn't tell you how many times I had cash for key finances at 5 or 6 at one time. And that definitely can sting a little bit, but you know what? These are the things that everybody needs to know if they want to get into REOs.
And the one thing I like to say about REO,
Yes.
we need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And the reason being is because we're going to be doing a lot of things like, "Well, I don't do this. I don't do that stuff. That's not," well, okay. I'm not saying they're going to make you go jump off a cliff. They're not going to do that. But what they're going to do is require a little bit of common sense. And I keep using that, but I want to drive a point home. You need to be a problem solver. You need to take a step back and go, let's analyze the situation as being spastic and just, reacting. I find, and I'm saying this mostly for me because I've got high energy and I overreact more than anybody. I need to step back, take a look at all the options. Yep, let's present this. Solution-based business. That's what you need to do. So Carrie, thanks for sharing. Who else got a question, comment, concern?
Oh, I'd like to add something if I could.
Yes, please do.
Can you hear me? Yes, I just had a situation where I have a new listing, and the whole electrical meter, outdoor electrical meter, just gone. No way to get electrical service to the house or anything. Back and forth with the county. I actually had to make 3 trips, talking to people on the phone, like just over and above. Finally went down there this week, and just a random person walking by, the guy, he said, "Hey, you think you can help her?" She answered my question on the spot, just randomly, because they don't answer the phone. But I said all that to say it is definitely time consuming, but I really wanted to get to the bottom of it. And I'm able to find out a lot of information regarding that county and the process and how it works, and making contacts. So when I need stuff, it's not as hard the next time. But it's definitely new, but I'm enjoying the ride because I'm learning so much from it. And my asset manager does really appreciate that. So I just wanted to share that. Sometimes we definitely have to kind of go out of our way a little bit. And I literally had to make 3 trips and phone calls to really get the answer that I needed. So it's a little bit of work, but I think it's just what we were called to do.
You know what? Diving in, you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to, and don't forget pre and post. Make sure you're a resource. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Who else? Anyone else have any questions, or have we really
I
good?
have
Hey,
just
Robert.
some basic questions.
Let's go.
Oh.
Rock and roll.
I just in general. So this whole REO space is super new to me. I've been like in California, I would buy foreclosures on courthouse steps and I dealt with it in that aspect. But now I'm in another state and taking these certifications. Is there like a, entry level basic kind of, hey, this is the software that we typically use to manage all these properties, or just kind of like a how-to step-by-step process, or do we get a coach?
Well, you know what? That's a couple questions. I think in terms of managing the tasks that you're given for the REO assignments, is that what you're referring to? Like the many moving parts of like reimbursements and offers and all that?
Yes. Is there like, hey,
Yeah, I think that you're going to see that Larry's aligned with iList, and they have a very robust REO component that tracks at all your tasks. It's, in my opinion, it's the best that I've seen. There's things like REO Maestro. There's Taza REO that was real popular back before. I don't know that they're actually up and running right now. Their website doesn't appear to be, but there's different companies. But I think I would look into iList for your REO task management, if that's what you're referring to. There's a lot of moving parts in an REO, I'll tell you what.
And the hard part about that question, Valerie, is that every client does it differently. So every client may have 3 or 4 different systems that they ask for you to use, or a process or something like that. So this is where, I mean, you're a part of our family and part of our group, like lean into us, right? Like, I mean, I'm right down the street. So like, that is a good problem to have, and we can solve it very quickly with the resources that we have.
Yeah, great question. Great question. What else, guys?
thank you.
And Larry, thanks for that. What other questions do we have?
Hey, Robert, this is Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi. I just want to piggyback on what Carrie said. It is imperative, I believe, to keep notes, and pretty good notes on, your properties, and like who you talk to, when you talk to them, to just be very vigilant about that. And I do love REO. I've been in it since, I'm not even going to tell you how long, but it is imperative that you be a problem solver. And I think that's why I love it so much, is because you are always dealing with things that you may have never seen or heard or done before. So it's a learning experience as well.
You know, it certainly is a learning experience. And the reason why I like REO corporate sellers is because it's corporate sellers. There's no emotions to it. I'm not a big fluffy guy. I'm a straight to the punch you right in the middle of the face kind of guy. I get to the point with my sellers on the traditional side because I'm trained REO, and that's what they want. They don't want the how the clock was built. They want to know what time it is. So I want to get right to the point. And sometimes you need to understand that. That's why I like corporate sales, because it's just it is what it is. Let's get it done. So you need to have.
You mean they don't want your story, Robert?
What's that?
You mean they don't want your story?
No, I'm sure they're impressed with anything I tell them, but at the end of the day, they don't care. They want to know that you're going to kick ass for them and get it done and make them look good. If you make them look bad, you're getting more business. So, Carrie, you have another question?
I just have one more thing I wanted to say too.
Please do. Go ahead.
I had an asset manager once call me, and she'd given me a lot of assignments because she knew she could rely on me and I was resourceful and resilient. She had assigned it to somebody else in a different area. She said that she got word that there was a fire out there, and if I would drive out there, and it was about an 1.5 to 2 hour drive. As much as I didn't want to take that drive, I took the drive and I went out there, and thankfully there was no fire. It was just basically there wasn't a fire. So I came back, I reported to her. Guess what she did? She assigned me 10 more REO assignments after that because I did a favor. I was resourceful and I was a problem solver, and I'll never forget her. And we're still really good friends until this day. And so doing extra things like that, going outside of what you normally would probably do with an asset manager, you're definitely going to score some points.
And that's huge, because we're in that phase right now. This is where asset managers are starting to get their bearings, get their ordinance, and getting kind of connected and sitting in the chair. They got a new set of boots, they're breaking them in. And then they're going to find the agents that are going to be going the extra mile, like what Carrie just talked about. That's who they're going to work with. And it's going to be a lifelong relationship. Try having them not send Carrie any more business. And the best thing, they're going to share that. And I have no problem. And that's what I like about this group, is because we have a lot of coverage. And instead of maybe driving 2 hours, hey, Larry, I got something going on in your area. Can you go check it out? Because I'll do the same for you. And we're helping each other. And hey, who do you have in Dover, Delaware? I don't need to go anywhere else other than this group, because I know that if I don't have somebody from Dover, Delaware on this call, somebody on this call is going to say, stand by, introduction made, what's your next question? That's why you need to plug in, but don't just plug in sometimes. Superstars don't get to where they are. Professional athletes I like to look at a lot, because the commitment to their success and to their craft, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see, so they can be great. And that's what we need to remember. That's what we're doing. We're a professional athlete. We just happen to sell real estate. So get in, be the most educated, understand, tap into this, and the business could be fantastic, both traditional and corporate selling. It's just a matter of, are you willing to do what it takes to make it happen? I opened up my goals and actuals call every 8 o'clock on Monday. I'll put that in the chat box. If you want to jump in, you can. But I open up my call every single Monday with Whatever It Takes by the Imagine Dragons. I don't mix it up. I love when Larry's at his computer and he's got the full on DJ going. I leave that party music to Larry because he does a great job. And that's what I love most about him. But I stick to the whatever it takes, because when you're doing goals and actuals, you got to do whatever it takes. And when you're working with corporate sellers, you got to do what it takes. They're not going to ask you to go jump off a bridge, but you're going to need to go the extra mile. You need to roll up your sleeves and do the lifting before, because once, like Carrie said, once you've done that, when you help somebody else that has no clue, no relationship in an area that they need help, here comes Carrie, does a great job. And it's like, oh my God, I'm holding on to that. I'm never letting that relationship go. That's what the asset manager says. So make sure you're willing to do whatever it takes. So anyway, any other questions, concerns? I know we're like 20 minutes over. And honestly, I haven't even looked at my emails or my schedule. I don't even know if I blew through a call or not. But I tell you what, this has been very, very, just my pleasure. Let's open it up. Any questions before we say goodbye today?
I got a question.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
Hey, so my quick question is this. I'm new to this group, and I really appreciate the REO information. I'm definitely taking the class pretty soon. But in the meantime, I want to increase my listings, and I want to deal with the FISBOs and all that. But I need a guided hand. What would you recommend?
Well, I would recommend expireds, FISBOs, and pre-foreclosure. If you're not targeting the lowest hanging fruit first, there's no need to go on to the next, because you got to get the lowest hanging fruit first. And that's a FISBO. FISBO's going, hey, hi, look at me. I want to sell my house. I have no idea what I'm doing, or at least I think I do. You know what I mean? I love the FISBO. And if you have a unique selling proposition, the FISBO is even better. The expireds, they just went through a 6-month relationship saying, oh yeah, sell my house, and got minimal traffic to the open house, minimal offers, minimal interest, 6 months of dragging their feet. It's not working. Every time you talk to an expired, the serious ones, by the way, the serious expireds go, man, I need a better way. I'm not going back to that. That's the definition of insanity, trying to get different results, right? So we're going to get rid of that, and they're going to go, Robert, you got a hold of me. I like what you hear, at least enough to sit on a Zoom call. All my listings are done via Zoom. I take
Okay.
every one of my listings via Zoom. FSBO's expired, canceled, pre-foreclosure, Joe. That's your answer.
Yeah. I've been doing it on my own, but I'm not getting much traction. You know, I
Yeah,
need.
what
I
you
need-
say matters. If you don't have the right message, you
Mhm.
will be just like every other agent that's getting their head against a wall because they don't have the right message. They don't have the most congruent message that the seller's looking for. And that could
Right.
potentially be your problem. And we actually go over that on our Monday call, but also on our Wednesdays at 1 o'clock call.
And you
Okay,
can't
yeah.
just say that you bring value. Value is such a broad, you got to have an offer proposition. What is
Yeah.
your offer proposition that's going to make you unique and different from everybody else? Because guess what? Everybody's doing the same thing. So you have
Yep.
to do something different than what everybody
Right.
else is doing.
And that's
Mhm.
exactly what we're doing with our online offers platform. I get in front of MLS. I mean, I get out in front of Zoom sellers. I do all them FSBO's expired, canceled, and pre-foreclosure, all done via Zoom. And once they see what I can do for them, they can't unsee it. It's a 3 to 5 minute Zoom call. Angela, you know what I'm talking about. Once you tell them, show them exactly what they're going to get and what the value proposition and what makes you stand out. Good luck trying to list the property after I've seen them. You know what I mean? But you got to have that attitude that you truly have that product that you can go out to these FSBOs expired and canceled and say, good luck trying to get some better solution than this.
Yeah.
So Joe, do you have another question, Joe?
Yeah, how can I join a poll? Because I need that message. I need the right
Well,
approach.
you can, if you want, you can reach out to me on EXP Workplace, and I'd be more than happy to invite you to our goals and actuals, and we go over that very thing. We go over scripting, we go over role playing, we go over tracking and measuring your numbers. That's Monday at 8. You know what? I'll put it in the chat box. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat box so it's easier for everyone. If you want to jump on, I'm not selling anything. I'm just simply sharing what I'm doing to take 2-3 listings a week, you know, and that's just kind of, I mean, I don't take it every single week. Our team collectively, we're taking 2 to 3 listings a week. We're doing 5 to 7 Zoom appointments a week because there's still sellers that I won't work with. There's sellers that I get on the Zoom with and I'm like, oh my God, you're absolutely insane. I'm not working with you. You're a nightmare to work with and you're completely unrealistic with your price. 3-minute Zoom, have a nice day. But if somebody wants to really do it and has a clear understanding of how they're going to have that path to victory, I'll take that listing all day long. So let me put those in the chat box. Any other questions? Anything else? We're good. All right. Well, you know what? I appreciate it, man. I'm absolutely, thanks for having me on the call today. I'm going to put I'll put my trainings in the chat box for those of you that want to jump on. It's open to everybody. It's not exclusive. It's if you're in the real estate industry, jump on the call. You got to track and measure your numbers no matter what you're in. If you're selling, you need to be tracking. Cool.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to go ahead and drop the first one. This is the goals and actuals, which I like it. It's accountability. It's not sexy. But it's tracking and measuring your numbers. If you're not tracking and measuring, you're missing it out. You're missing the game. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to update this real quick. Any other questions before I bounce? No other questions. Okay. I'm going to update this right here. 90. Okay. So this is the goals and actuals, and that's Mondays. And then I'm going to put in the chat box for you, Joe, if you want to go over scripts and conversations with, with the sellers, working that lowest hanging fruit, FSBO, expired, canceled, pre and post foreclosure. I'll put that in the chat box too.
Okay.
And that right now. And I think that's it. Yeah. So I put that in the chat box and just, it's both days are meet with Robert.live. So just jump in and just be there, listen or don't, participate or don't. Angela, I love having you on because you're such a common sense agent. And Carrie, I'd love for you to jump on sometime and tell us a little bit more about what you're doing to kick ass and take names. But I'll put that in the chat box. So that is there in the chat box. So with that said, I'll let everybody get back to work. And Larry, Thank you so much for having me on, and you guys have a great day. You get the chat, it's in the chat too. Okay, I'll see you guys later.
All right.